Mia, that's right. Okay.
Are we ready
Wonderful
to go
to
live
meet you all.
again?
Sure.
Yeah,
Great.
we're running.
Ah, la 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 la. Ah, la 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 lo. Allah, 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 la la la. It is Allah, 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 la la la. Ah, la 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 la. Ah, la 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 la. Allah, la 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 la. Ah, la 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 la. It is la 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 la. Allah, 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 la la la. Ah, la 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 la. Allah, la 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 la. Ah, la 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 la. It is a la 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 la. Allah, 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 la la. Allah, 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 la 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 la. Allah, 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 la 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 la. Ah, la 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 la. Allah, 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 la la la. Allah, 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 la la la. Ah, la 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 la. Allah, la 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 la. Ah, la 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 la. It is a la 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 la. Allah, 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 Allah. It is a la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 la. Allah, la 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 ya la 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 la. Ah, la 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 la. It is ah, la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 la. Ah, la 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 ya la 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 la. Ah, la 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 la. Thank you so much for singing with me. Um, we're going to learn a little bit today about music and Teshuvah. And before we do, well, actually, I wanna do a little go around, but I wasn't sure if we should wait for a few more folks or if we should just.
We have a few more folks who are still cleaning up downstairs who are gonna
Great.
join us sooner or later.
Great.
So they might be hearing us down there.
Wonderful. Maybe so. I'll share a little bit about some of the thoughts behind the Torah that I want to share today and the singing that we're going to be doing, which is just that when I think about music and like what its role is in our prayer, and particularly what its role is as we approach the high holidays, for me it really is Teshuvah. Music is a tool. It's not just that we sing music so that we can get through the prayers or to entertain ourselves while we pray, but music is actually a spiritual practice that we are engaging in that is that core practice of the high holidays, which is Teshuvah. So I'm curious, in our little group here, when I say that on the high holidays, one of our main goals is to do Teshuvah, like Does that mean anything to you? Great. Anyone? Wonderful. So Teshuvah. So for and you know, 2 Jews, 3 opinions. Anyone that you ask, I will tell you. Anyone you ask is going to say something probably a little bit different. But Teshuvah comes from the verb root lashuv, which means to return. And the idea being that over the course of our year, over the course of really every day, we kind of stray from the core of our being, from being the person that we want to be, from being present in the world. Our ancestors would talk about we stray from God. We stray from the path of mitzvot, the path of doing, the right actions, of taking care of our community, of taking care of each other, and that when we stray, we have a need to come back. And so the high holidays is a time when we put an extra focus on this process of realizing that we've gone astray and inviting ourselves back. Sometimes it's translated as repentance or atonement, maybe not atonement, but but I much prefer to think of it in terms of this root of returning. And actually, let's take a look at a little bit of Torah with that. I'm going to pass around these source sheets.
Is there another one?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, so on the front page, there's a front and a back, but on page 1, the first source is from the Book of Lamentations, Eicha, which in some Jewish communities is read during the summer on the holiday of Tisha B'Av, where we get in touch with our brokenness, where we become aware, where our turning away, our straying has become so material that we invite ourselves into feeling the brokenness of what it means to not be with ourselves, to not be present. At the end of this book, which is a very, very dark and heavy book about the destruction of the temple and the material consequence of that, the experience of the people who lived through that suffering, we get this incredible line, which becomes kind of a theme line that points us towards the high holidays. So could I get a volunteer to read this in English? Just the very first line.
Take us back, O Lord, to yourself, and let us come back. Renew our days as of old.
Beautiful, thank you. So it's in Hebrew, Hashivenu Adonai Elecha Venashuva, Chadesh Yamenu Kekedem. So both of these words, Hashivenu and Nashuva, share that root of the word Teshuvah. So that is, in a certain way of thinking about the high holidays, that is our core work, is to do what this verse says, is to go back. Yeah.
Is it familiar?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where do you know those words from?
I've sung them as if at Yom Kippur.
He's probably sung them on the Yom Kippur. I don't know what the Yom Kippur, but we actually just sang them.
When we return the Torah to the ark.
We close the ark.
Beautiful.
We sing these words.
Yeah.
So that's, so there's Vashivenu Adonai Elecha Venashuva Chadesh Yameinu Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem.
Beautiful.
You want the
Beautiful.
high holiday version? High holiday tune?
No, I think I want to stay in talking about it just for a minute, which is to say, I'm just curious how this is landing with you, this idea of Teshuvah and this sort of what I'm claiming, that this is our sort of, from a certain way of thinking, our central goal during the high holidays is to do this verse. Does that resonate for you? Does that feel totally new and like a little foreign? Yeah. Say more.
It feels right. It feels like the right thing to do to come back.
Mhm.
You know, especially what's going on in this world today.
Yeah.
So it's emotional too, I think,
Mm.
to come back. You know,
Yes.
it really is.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's about the most you can get out of it.
But it's
beautiful.
It's the ikar. It's the
That's
essence
exactly
of it.
the core of
Yeah,
what we're
yeah.
talking about, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm curious, either you or anyone else can share, like, is there a moment where you feel like you felt this in your life? That feeling of like, oh, I have strayed from the person I'm meant to be, and then the feeling of actually coming back. Yeah.
I feel at this point in my life, I'm a better person. Thank you. I'm a better person.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Wow. That's very powerful. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Attention to the man behind the microphone.
And I think I just want to, what I want to lift up in what you're sharing, Judy, is like Reb Josh said, this is real. Like there's a book, this is real, and we're completely unprepared. Like the work of the High Holiday is the work of doing Teshuvah, of finding a better version of yourself, of like going through difficulty and coming home is so real and is so possible. Yeah. Any other reflections or experiences of this?
I think it also resonates because we're so, I think, often disconnected from our feelings.
Yes.
You know, we're too busy with our electronics. We're too busy getting our kids to this. We're too busy making dinner, and we lose that connection with ourselves.
Yeah. And we forget that making dinner is like the most holy thing in the world. Right? It's like the Buddhists, like before I became interested in Judaism as a religion, I had like a brief flirtation with Zazen, with Zen Buddhist meditation. And they talk about like what the most like that everything is Zazen. Everything like Zazen is like sitting. It literally just means sitting, but it's the practice of cultivating your focus and your presence in the moment. And so they say like one of the most important things that you can do to practice Zazen, the thing that they are most doing, is to wash the dishes. You know, there's nothing more, you know, we would say there's nothing more holy than washing the dishes. And this is basically this is getting into a whole other thing, but I think that is sort of the central idea, one of the central ideas of Hasidism, which is like this religious renewal that happened in the 18th century in Eastern Europe, where they looked up and they said, wait a minute, everything that we do is about God. It's not just when we fast. It's not just when we pray. It's not just when we study Torah. Every single action that we do is full of holiness. But we get distracted from that. We think to ourselves, oh, I'm just cooking dinner, or I'm just taking the kids to school, or I'm, you know, and it's like, no, like, it's like, oh my God, I'm cooking dinner. Like, I am doing the thing that I need to do to survive. I need to do to nourish my family, to nourish the world. So that's one of the consciousnesses that I want to kind of invite us into in our learning today, and then certainly on the high holidays as well. And there's a couple. So the next couple of sources come from the lineage of that Hasidic movement that kind of had this new way of looking at Judaism. The first one is from the Sfat Emet, or the Sfas Emes, who is from 19th century Poland. And he says this really remarkable, like, small thing. He says a lot more about this, as they often do, but I just wanted to share this little idea. I'm just going to get a volunteer to read the second source, See That Song.
Read it.
Yeah.
See That Song comes from the power of cleaving to the root. Thus the Levites had the duty of singing in the temple, which is cleaving and joining with the root.
Great. So this concept of cleaving in Hebrew, devekut, or as the Hasidim in Eastern Europe would have said, devekis, is this incredibly core part of Jewish mystical theology. And I'm curious, just like, what images come to your mind as you read this? Before we ask, like, what does it mean to cleave to the root? Like, what images come to your mind as we read this text? And why might it be that song enacts this?
I, I think that singing is sort of an expression of. I trained for years as a classical singer.
Oh, wow.
A long time, different lifetime. But it always made me feel there was a physical connection to what I was doing. It wasn't just like, am I singing the right note? I mean, you know that, right? It's like it's an expression of something deeper than what the words you're singing or the melody you're singing. And I think that's the root. You know, it's your soul, it's your being that you're sharing with somebody in some way.
Beautiful. Any other thoughts on singing and cleaving to the root? Holding fast might be another way to think about it, or what I want to also find out, Rosemary, what you just said is exactly what the Piazetzner Rebbe says in the next source. So we could take a look at that one.
That's my favorite.
Yeah. Do you want to share a word or two about who he is? He's a really special teacher.
Piazetzner is a very interesting person, because when we look at these Hasidic, this Hasidic revival, as I mentioned, that it happened in the 18th century, right? And most of the thinkers that we look at who still really resonate in this revival sort of way, most of them are from the 17th to 18th century. The Piazetzner died in the Warsaw Ghetto. And in fact, one of his books, Esher Kodesh, the Holy Fire, was written as this collection of teachings they gave in the Warsaw Ghetto. And the reason I love the Piazetzner so much, you were talking about the singing is in your body. Like, you singing, you can't just do all in your head. And the Piazetzner is of all the Jewish thinkers the one who most clearly talks over and over about how important it is to actually be fully present, and that the spirituality is not something that's separate from the body. So you will hear teachings from Piazetzner Rebbe eventually. Sure.
And this text that he wrote comes from a book that he wrote before the war, when he found that his Hasidic students were really struggling with the distractions of the modern world. There was so much going on, there was so much noise, there was so much, nobody could focus on God anymore. We were in this new industrial reality. We were in the 1920s. So he wrote this book of how to cultivate and draw out our spiritual potential. And that's basically what this book is about. And he talks in it really beautifully about music. So can I get another volunteer to read us this text? Music nigun is a type of revelation. Would you read it? Yeah, thanks, Rosemary.
Music, nigun, is a type of revelation of the soul and its feelings. Our holy texts note that when a person's sufferings overwhelm them, heaven forbid, they can no longer speak, but only cry out in wails without words. In the same way, a tune which is comprised of sounds of joy or bitterness arouses a person's feelings, and within these feelings, the lineaments?
Lineaments, yeah.
Literally limbs of their soul are revealed.
Beautiful. So what does it mean for the soul to be revealed? Rosemary sort of brought this up, reading my mind and channeling the Piazetzner Rebbe. But what does it mean to the soul to be revealed, and who is it revealed to? What is he talking about here?
Revealed to the person themselves and to
Great.
God.
Say again?
Revealed to themselves, but
Mhm.
also to God.
Beautiful. Who else might it be revealed to?
Just the family around them.
Yeah. Right? And I'm curious, how might this revelation of the soul that the Piazetz Rebbe is imagining is happening when we sing, how might that be related to Teshuvah, this first idea that I brought up, to this kind of returning from a place of going astray?
Well, I think one thing that it does is it makes you vulnerable. When you reveal your soul, because you have no artifacts. You're just you. You're just.
Yeah.
I don't know how that relates to Teshuvah, but I was just thinking, you're really exposed.
Really exposed. Yeah. I really resonate with that. Like I felt that actually today. Like, I'm very confident singing. I'm very, like, I know music. I know how to sing. I'm very comfortable. But even today, like, I'm in front of all these new people I've never met before in a setting I don't totally know. And I felt that vulnerability. So I was like, how are they going to receive this? Like, this is my soul coming out. Like, what will they see? What will you see? I think that happens for all of us. Even if we think we're just singing softly, I think something is coming out when we sing in community. Let's sing a little bit. And I want to invite you to ask yourself, as you're singing and as you're listening, to wonder, what is my soul revealing to me right now? And I also just want to say about that, it doesn't have to be something good. It doesn't have to, it might just be like, oh, my soul's revealing me, now I'm kind of hungry. Where I like I know I just had Kiddush, but like, no. Or like, I'm kind of bored, I don't know why I'm here. Like it could be anything. It could be like, oh, I'm revealing that I'm actually very happy, or I'm very just be open to noticing any emotion or thought that comes up as we sing. What did your soul reveal to you? Benny.
It's a good feeling right now, being all together doing this.
Yeah.
It's a happy feeling.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I feel it. It
It reminds me of Girl Scout camp.
Yes.
But that was a good time.
I'm
I've never
sorry.
been to Girl Scout camp before. This is very good.
I'm sorry Beth isn't here. I'm sorry Beth isn't here because Beth talks about like the importance of singing together and the experiences and the formative experiences of Girl Scout camp.
Yeah, we
And-
both went to Girl
Yeah,
Scout camp.
Wow.
and then, like what it was like, you know, that she found when she found Judaism and the communities that sing together. Yeah.
It's nice, we're doing this in a group. It's like, it's a small group, it's a complete circle,
Yeah.
so which is nice.
Yeah.
Well, I went to day camp. Oh,
No, that's all right.
And the bus would take us over to where the camp was held, away from the community house. And we all, concerts, we do a lot of the Jewish, you know, the kids' songs all together. So it reminded me of that. Yeah. Don't remember all the songs. We sang a long time ago. But I remember that, yeah.
It's a good feeling.
So,
No, I was just saying the whole circle, but then Mike's over there.
But he's part of the
He's part.
circle. It couldn't be,
Fantastic,
see,
yeah.
he's part of it.
And whoever's watching.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's why I mentioned that this morning, but like something that's we can always remember is like we are here, but the Knesset Israel, like the assembly of Israel is this huge, enormous, interconnected thing that's happening right now all over the world. People are in shul, or people in different time zones are, going to their next meal, or to the end of Shabbat, or maybe they're ahead of, behind us. It's like over there is this the feeling of community for me. I think when it gets really powerful is when it's not, when I feel the richness of the community that I'm in right now, and then remember that it actually radiates beyond that, and that we are connected to those people too.
I never thought about it like that, but it was really like when you said it this morning, it resonated deeply.
Yeah.
It just so many of us are all doing the same thing.
yeah.
To be
Yeah.
Well, I know there's been many times that, mostly Kaz, but why do you go to shul? Why do you keep going? And I said, because when I'm saying the words, I feel this connection to my ancestors, to all of our ancestors. I was saying the same stuff that they said 3,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago.
There's another source, I didn't bring it on this text. It makes me very emotional. This has exactly what it is connected to that, which is that it says, when you sing and when you pray, you should imagine that you're standing before like the souls of your loved ones in Gan Eden, that you're in the Garden of Eden, where your loved ones who came before you, where our ancestors are there watching you and witnessing you and singing with you. Yeah, I'm also noticing I feel like a real lightness in my chest. I like when I started singing and everyone started singing a lot. It was like, oh, I relaxed, and I felt like, oh, I'm at home. Like we're doing it, I'm very grateful for that. Thank you so much for singing. I also loved someone mentioned, oh, I feel happy, and that also prefaces our next text, believe it or not, which is a little bit later in this same text from the Piazetzner Rebbe. He says something that I love. This is like one of my favorite things that I sort of found when I was flipping through this book. My first year of rabbinical school, I learned this with a teacher and a group of students. And when I saw this, I was like, this is how I've always felt with music, that I feel like I can't always express to other people. And I'm curious what you all think of it. I have one more volunteer to read here in the English. Page 2, the first source. Kayla, you're being voluntold.
I read the first two words. They,
To start from
Oh,
this,
so this does not necessarily.
this does not necessarily occur only with the broken-hearted tune. It can also take place with a joyful tune. You can use all these to manifest your soul. That is the way of the Hasid. At times he weeps with a joyful tune. while dancing. At other times, he dances with the tune of Kol Nidre.
Oh,
So maybe we'll try this out on the Yom Kippur. We'll all start dancing.
if any of
while
you
we
are
do it.
dancing, and
Oh,
if any of you dance in the aisles, we don't know what's going on. It's okay.
That'd be different.
And I love this. He says, what is it in the Hebrew? It's "Bekach darko shel hasid." Right, that is the way of the Hasid. And like here, I think he both means like, he might refer to his students as like Hasidim, or like his community, like a Hasidic community. Sure, it may mean that, but also a Hasid is like a pious person. And in the Talmud, there's a whole category of the Hasid where these like kind of unusual pious people who kind of did things differently than everyone else and didn't quite fit in.
I want to stick with this thing with Kol Nidre, because the image of somebody dancing joyously to
Yeah.
Kol Nidre just seems like really like cognitive dissonance, and that's why you put it there. But I'm just going to plant a seed of how do you feel at the end of Yom Kippur in Ne'ilah, because the end of Yom Kippur, the texts and the tunes are utterly desperate before the gates close, and it's all this deep and mournful, and you might find an elation of spirit when you get to those places, and you might be tempted to be like, this thing that's going on inside doesn't feel like it, but it's actually, this thing that's going on inside is actually it's what he's saying, is actually being revealed by this tune, right? This thing that my soul is, because by the time you get to Ne'ilah, if you've done Yom Kippur, if you've had the zchus, right? If it has worked for you, that Yom Kippur really works. By the time you get to Ne'ilah, there's a lightness, and there's a sort of deep joy to it. I remember once, the best day Yom Kippur I ever had, I was davening somewhere where I could see the sun setting. Usually, you're watching the light changing, like, I'm hungry, right? I was willing that sun to go down more slowly, because it's such a wonderful place of Teshuvah, feeling connected, right? And so amongst all these tunes, which are heartbreaking, I felt open-hearted, right? And so maybe it's maybe less incongruous than it might seem just by this idea of dancing to poetry.
I'm curious, does it feel incongruous to you, or does it feel, or is there a part of this that resonates, whether it's something at shul or in Judaism, or like music you listen to outside of, or anything?
The blues.
I also find it interesting that we call things happy and sad, but we'll get to that. So,
I was just thinking of, like, my husband and I have been listening to, I don't know, Jelly Roll. And he used to be a rap singer in our this country, but a lot of his stuff comes from very painful upbringing, and it really resonates in his music. So like you said, you get a lot of the sad, but you also get joy out of that he's expressing, and he's moving on, and he's trying to help others to also move on with his
Yeah, he's in a good
words.
place now.
Yeah. So again, you get the happy and the sad.
yeah.
The first time I listened to Andrea Bocelli, it did bring me to another place, and now I listen to him a lot. When you're in the mood, you just want to get out of the mood that you're in. I listen to music, and it helps.
Yeah, I walk by water. I live in Rhode Island, and there's a town, Connecticut, which is part of, where I live. And when I feel, a lot of tension, to get rid of it and to feel good again, I walk by the water, which always puts me in a very good frame of mind. And I can go home and do what I need to do, and I'm happy about it.
Yeah. I love that connection to the natural world. I also find a lot of connection with water. And when I was younger, I'm going through a particularly difficult time. I found that I listened to a lot of sad music, but I wasn't sad when I listened to the music. It was like that was the place where I was happy, where I like really felt connection, where I felt like truth, like a sense of like it's okay. And people would always say, "How do you listen to all this sad music? Your life is so hard. You're like doing when I'm distracted." And I was like, I mean, sometimes and I had my distractions, but where I really felt at home was in music that like reflected my reality. And it really was a sense of like, I'm so like, I I'm just like, I'm smiling thinking about it. Like it just felt, yeah.
That's good. It's a good place to be.
Yeah. So we've been singing a song for a while now that feels happy coded, maybe. It's in major. It's kind of bouncy. I want to come back to the song that I showed and sing that for a little while, which I think is a song that's a little more yearning coded. It feels like I don't know that I would call it a sad song, but it feels like a song of like calling out. In the Piasetzner Rebbe says, he says when you can no longer speak, but you can only cry out and wail without words. That's the power of the nigun. And here he's talking about nigun, not just this melody, but I think he's talking about a kind of wordless melody where we don't sing words, we just sing and let that deeper level of like not intellectual thought, but actual feeling sort of penetrate to our soul and try to get us to that place of brokenheartedness where we recognize the need to return to ourselves. We recognize that we are astray and we need to come back. So let's sing a little bit of our song from this morning. It Ay, 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 oh. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 oh. Did I, ay, 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 oh. Ay, 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 oh. Did
It made me sad, very sad.
Yeah.
It's mournful.
Yeah. How did it, like, this may seem like a strange question, but how did it feel to feel sad?
I felt like I was mourning people.
Yeah. Did that feel okay? Did that feel?
It's okay. It's
Yeah.
just, it's not a feeling I want to have on a regular basis.
Sure, sure.
But it just made me sad, that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was thinking about my parents mostly,
Mm.
so it made me sad that they're not here to see, what's going on. Not necessarily what's going on in the world, but just what's going on with me.
Yeah, of course, of course.
I'm a very emotional person to begin with, so this
I
just.
didn't feel sad.
Oh, good.
Okay.
I didn't feel happy. I was thinking, my whole life, I've loved going to the theater and listening to music, and especially when they did the overture of the whole play, which they don't do anymore because they don't plays aren't like what they used to. Just brought me back to that.
Yeah, yeah.
With my parents, I went with.
The sisters, in case you didn't realize that.
We don't have anybody left.
No, we don't.
Yeah.
We just.
That's
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, just us. Yeah,
Yeah.
we lost, all aunts and uncles and parents and grandparents.
Although we did have an aunt and uncle that lived to be 97 years old.
And
My favorite.
my parents would be very proud or very happy, that I moved to, be closer to my sister and family,
Yeah.
which is something. And that I joined the same temple as her. I live in Rhode Island, but there's no temple near where I live, and the best thing for me to do was to join a temple, to be closer to my sister.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it
It's a good-
matters,
it's-
right?
yeah,
It
it's a-
matters to choose
It's
our
a very
family
good
and
thing.
stuff. Yeah.
Because the rest of our family's in Florida.
Florida, yeah.
Sure.
Forget about us.
It's a kind of teshuvah, right? It's a kind of returning to be able
Yeah.
to come back and like be with family and shul.
Yeah.
That's a special thing.
Oh, it's very special. It really, I know my parents would be very happy. I'm sure they're very happy.
Sure they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I would never move to Florida.
No, Florida's not for us.
Yeah.
She's the only family she has, and she's gonna be 70. My sister, and she says, "I need to be. What if something goes wrong?
Yeah,
If I need,
yeah.
too far away."
Did she move?
No, not yet. She had to put the house up for sale.
It's the best thing.
She's looking. What she's looking for around here. Oh, not Cantorial, but greater. It's gonna be tough.
It's the best thing I could have done.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
she
for me and my husband.
She has some health problems, and she says, "I'm too far away." She has some friends
Yeah.
down there, but she needs to be with her family. No, she never got married, doesn't have kids, so this is the best thing. She just wants a garage. She's like, "Oh, taking the snow out." So we haven't done that in 3 years anyway.
I was gonna say.
Well, all
Yeah.
my children, except for one that is in Florida, but the rest, I have 5 children.
That's what David said.
They're all up here. Most of my grandchildren are up here, and I wouldn't want to go away from them.
No, I was, "Why don't you retire up Florida?" I said, "I want to live with
Plus, it's hot there. I mean,
grandkids." I can't stand it.
I like to change the seasons.
Summer's horrible.
we went to a wedding in Miami in August,
thought we were
and that
gonna
did
die.
that did
Yeah,
it.
I thought we were gonna, too hot.
Air conditioning, just have to get out into that heat. But we experienced it here. This it was brutal. We didn't do much.
Yeah, but you had
Well,
times
but
of
we
the day.
think back to that day of the wedding, and it was worse.
It was terrible.
I was recently at a wedding that was very the
A happy
the
occasion.
chuppah was like, oh, it was so hot. We were under the sun and just like dying a little bit, but it was beautiful wedding. So wonderful. But I also just want to point out that like what we're talking about now, like where we are, is talking about like the things that are dear to us, the things that are important, that sense of the importance of closeness with family, with, you know, connection. Yeah. And like, and I think what I wanted to offer today, and what I want to offer and kind of invite us into over the next few weeks, as you come to shul, as you're, you know, doing the dishes, cooking, whatever it might be, to notice that these are all holy acts. These are all portals into Teshuvah, portals into the process of approaching the high holidays, of trying to get to break through the habitual and actually access something deeper, access that lightness, that joy, the sadness too, right? We need to have moments. We don't want to be there all the time, as you said, but we need to have those moments where we touch it and we know that it's real. And I think that our tradition and these texts are inviting us into that, the possibility that we can, one of the most powerful tools for that is singing. And that together, when we sing together, something happens. We are revealed to ourselves, we are revealed to each other, we are revealed to God. So may we be able to continue to connect into that in our own lives, and then get even deeper when Rosh Hashanah and then Yom Kippur comes. So thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
Thank
for
you.
letting
It's
us
been
be.
wonderful.
And I want to add that before Rosh Hashanah, we have Slichot this year.
Oh yes.
So we're going to do Slichot. We're on a Saturday before Rosh Hashanah, which is actually the Saturday, I believe, in 2 weeks. Not in 3, right? In 2
Probably.
weeks. Yeah.
Oh
So-
gosh.
Be the last Saturday.
No, that's in between.
Yeah.
Puppy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So last
Yeah.
Saturday of the month in the evening, Sam and I will do Slichot. We still have to figure out exactly what we're going to do, but we said to ourselves, let's do a Shabbos together. We'll see how things land in the community,
Yeah.
and then we'll figure out what to do. One of the interesting things about Slichot, took me a long time before I realized what's going on with the Slichot liturgy. The Slichot liturgy is actually stuff that doesn't come back till Yom Kippur. It's not Rosh Hashanah stuff. It's actually Yom Kippur stuff. We need to look. We have a beautiful Slichot prayer book. We're actually going to use it next Friday because it's the Elul and Slichot prayer book. And I'm sure we're going to have a very beautiful Slichot service. So sort of put that in your calendar. I'm going to start
And we'll be
making
trying to
sure
put
that
this kind of thing into practice in the
Yeah.
setting and the context of a prayer service. You know, with hopefully a few more folks who you will have to show them how to do it.
Yeah.
Right? You've been and now you've like gotten the sense of like, oh, this is what it could be, and like, you know,
Yeah.
you know, and my invitation always for folks is, I know that, you know, especially in this space, I know that a lot of people have like their place that they've been sitting for years, and I totally honor that and want you to do that. And I also love to encourage folks, like when possible, it makes all the difference in the world to be close to each other. So my teacher Joey Weisenberg talks about that singing is like building a fire, right? And if you try to build a fire and the logs are all spread out, like nothing's going to happen. It's not going to catch. Like you'll get a little fire here, but it'll go out very quickly. But if you put the logs close together, all stacked on top of each other, all you have to do is light a match, and suddenly the whole thing takes, and it can really last. It's the same thing with singing. You know, when we're all together, it's close like we are today. We get to experience what we experienced today, and so I just want to invite you to experiment with that at Slichot over the holidays. And
And I also have to say, the humming thing worked. I heard you guys doing it.
Love that because
Was
you
it-
don't have to know the words.
You don't have to know the
That
words, but
alone
you are
was
part of the prayer.
fantastic.
When you're humming, you're in conversation with the line that he's singing, and
Yes.
and not only that, but once you get your body resonating with that hum, I noticed it was happening. Then people were like, you know, a couple words would bubble up here and there, the Hebrew or in the English, and
Yeah.
it was like this that's probably what
It's
this
magic.
room sounded like 100 years ago.
what is what this? I mean, I don't know. I
Yeah,
wasn't
but
here. We were
like,
100 years ago. But here's
that's
the
the
thing.
traditional
What I want to say is
Ashkenazi prayer.
exactly what I want to say about that is, and I can come and teach a shir on this another time.
We'll
But
probably
there's
will, that's something.
but it's not just a thing that we're doing because we like to do it because we think it's fun and it sounds good, which it does. But it's like and it feels good. But it's actually truly what there were these guys in the old shulam called Meshoirim, singers who would stand around the chazan, the prayer leader, and they would hold out notes. They would hum, you know, just like we were doing earlier, to create, or sometimes they would you know,
Probably
create
like
big
that.
chords. Yeah,
They were
And
probably like gathered up around them.
or they would sort of responsively kind of flow in and out of what the prayer leader was doing, and they created this like bed of sound that like created this reverberation through the whole space and had everyone's bodies just like alive and open to like experience God in that way.
And I want to say, even if you didn't have Mishurim doing
Yeah.
it, everybody was davening,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So people were just doing it, and just because so and so was over there going their own way, off sync from the prayer leader, would occasionally bang on the table like to try to get everybody in sync, but there was still this hum, this spiritual hum is the tradition of traditional Ashkenazi prayer, and it's something that Jews started consciously trying to undo in Germany in the middle of the 19th century, when they felt,
look at it. We gotta have a whole shear on this, and we'll
you
talk
know,
about
so
why
I-
this fell away. But
and why it's go, but it's just I think it's it's part of what we need for our Teshuvah to like an antidote. Well, I think it's part of actually what we all are looking for when we actually show up services. So thank you for like joining in that, and there's the invitation even when Sam isn't around. I like just hum under your breath quietly. The person next to you looks at you funny, just raise an eyebrow, and you'll find yourself that much more connected. So
Thank you.
yeah, thank you. Good Shabbat.
if you want to keep this,
Yeah, please
Okay.
keep the sheets if you'd like. And
I'm keeping my own copy.
Good.
happy to.
Yes, good, thank you.
I think that's what you think. Thank you. I actually love it so much.
Yes. Yeah.
I've not studied the Shabbat, I think I need to.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
It's well, it's sort of an easy read, except for it's also weird Hebrew.
Yeah, but I can handle
You know,
it
it's
too.
just like
Thank
No,
you
I-
very much, it
Thank
was
you.
wonderful.
thank you so much for joining. Yeah, it's great to meet you.
Yep,
Yeah.
okay.
Great.
Good job.
I've done a
See you
few
later.
of it, both ones where we did
My sister's very.
like song workshops where we sang, and then I've also done ones where we just listened, like at a warehouse around the planetarium. We just like listened to old recordings.